And now, live from the Canaan Radio studio, welcome to The Brook Overtime.
Good afternoon. We're back for another The Brook Overtime Troll Edition. 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verses 1 and 2 says, "Now the Spirit speaketh expressly, that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils, speaking lies in hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron." I cannot find a better portion of Scripture to describe the trolls of the IFB. It has been those that have departed from the faith, that embrace teaching that isn't scriptural, and have engaged in manufacturing lies with no conscience at all, that have become the trolls of the IFB. They will never feel remorse, and they will never admit to their wickedness. The only defense against these troublesome trolls is to continue to promote and produce the truth. Lies are always short-lived when you can drown them in truth. It is the IFB trolls' objective to destroy any and all IFB preachers that dare to be boldly vocal about truth. Trolls are actually allergic to truth. Truth makes them sweat, and sweat makes them stink and break out with disfiguring facial tumors. Now they would have you believe their only interest is in warning you of the damages and the dangers that the IFB will inflict on you. They often will attach themselves as advocates to high morals by siding with and defending people who have had terrible injustices happen to them. They hide their hideousness with capes and masks and emerge the superhero defenders of the common man. Shapeshifters on a mission to chip away at the very men and women of God that would stand against their rebelliousness towards God. Tonight, we'll be exposing one such nasty lying troll. He has purposely attached himself to abuse victims. He rides the trauma of others. He's not interested in justice at all. He wants the false reports he spews to be believed by everyone. He sows doubt with conjecture and unprovable accusations. He is not a journalist at all, yet he presents himself as a trustworthy outlet of factual value. He left the IFB movement years ago as a mad, spiteful young punk and has recently renounced Christ completely. We know little to nothing about him and of his actual time in the IFB. He only shares one side of his own story, and we have yet to hear from those who could give us a true look at his years in the IFB movement. He paints himself as an expert on all matters he disagrees with, yet he didn't even have the ability or experience as a Christian to keep himself from what God called sin. He chose to springboard his podcast on the back of exaggerated stories from a lying, drug and alcohol abusing, mentally unstable individual that has consistently been unable to maintain any healthy relationships. He has no family who wants to be around him. He has no friends, no wife, no girlfriend, and no children. Everything about this man screams unstable. Yet tonight's IFB hating troll decided to trust him as a reliable source. This troll was told these reports were inaccurate, but he doubled down and continues to this day to post dishonest things about me. Within the last year, he published a distorted and manufactured story about a troubled young lady who grew up in our church and recently ran away from her mother and her home. The lies that this troll published on his social media accounts and YouTube were completely false. Although he claims the reports are alleged, he takes the opportunity at the same time to attack our church members, our college, my staff and faculty, as well as my own wife and children. This troll will receive anything someone says negative about any IFB. He doesn't have to believe it himself. he can't wait to recirculate lies with proclamations and accusations of cult-like victimization. He has never checked with us about these reports. It is just an opportunity for him to libel the IFB. Parading as an advocate for those who claim church abuse, this hateful little troll boldly, but his own faulty and dishonest reporting out there has obviously got no credibility to what he says, and it's not true. Today, the true story is going to be shared right here on this live broadcast. Welcome to the Brook Over Time Troll Edition. I'm Pastor Bill Reeves, your host, and now let me introduce to you our crew for today. First up, to my far right, we have mounting his reportedly high throne of moral superiority over trolldom, Will the mighty media mogul Reeves, soon to be as bad as his father.
Soon to be?
Soon to be.
Okay.
Not yet.
To his left and my right, we have Pete, the theologically muscle-bound Schwarzenegger Ward. He may not say much, but when he speaks, we all sit back and drool over his spiritual muscular brain. To my immediate left, I give you David, the not really here because he's going to get married soon, Reeves. Don't be fooled by his bright and shiny disposition. He really is very grieved over his fiancée not allowing him to be a Green Bay Packers fan anymore. Poor guy. Wow. And in the special guest chair tonight, we have Mrs. Kathy, never does what her pastor tells her to do, Greeley. Our patron IFB saint of the simple and coerced. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Poor lady. And up in the booth, we have our own JT, the full contact sport expert, Crawford. Don't challenge him in checkers. He may put you in the hospital.
Wow. Yeah.
Now it's time for our special segment where we feature the weekly tears of our trolls. May I present to you 2 tweets.
Toot tweets, toot tweets, tears of our trolls in a tweet.
Welcome to Two Tweets. And of course, we took the little acronym there, Tears of Our Trolls. And then
Tweets.
recreated the song, Toot Tweets with 2 tweets. Tears of Our Trolls and a tweet. We're going to share a couple of tweets that have been put out by our trolls. And these are tweets that exemplify the whining, the whining, you could say, aura about trolls.
Yes.
And how they love to be the ones that pick. But as soon as you pick on them, it's the end of the world. Let's go ahead and throw the first one up there. This was a response to a tweet that was put out with a clip from our podcast. And here's what they said. Can we stop playing their clips? There's just a bunch of jokers. Thanks. That was exactly copied and pasted from...
I love when they can't even type right.
It was a response to... It was a response...
Learn how to spell.
It was a response...
Type right.
Yeah. Oh. It was a response to a clip that had been put out from our regularly scheduled broadcast. Mm-hmm. And they had put it out trying to make fun of it. And they started whining and said, can we please stop putting their stuff out? They're just a bunch of jokers. So they got a lot of crying going on. I'm going to go ahead and put the other one on the thing here. Give me just a second. I got one other one I wanted to share this week. Go ahead and switch over to that one. I remember conversations like this when I was in the 4th grade. I'm waiting for the episode where they all sit around pulling each other's fingers. That's the maturity I expect. The most that they can do is try and make it sound like there's no maturity to the play because they have nothing else to say. They've got no truth to contribute, no actual issue with what we've said. Yeah. All they could say is,
"Well, you're ugly."
Yeah. Here, let me give him another. You want to give him another clip?
That's real mature.
If it's not Pastor Reeves, it's one of his kids. Thinking about getting a bumper sticker that says that.
You're glue, I'm rubber. What you say bounces off me and sticks on you.
Yeah. So those are the couple of tweets this week. The tears of our trolls in some tweets. So
and we got a wonderful Twitter line. If you want to go to Twitter and just go to that account, it's 2 tweets, and you'll enjoy it. Every week we wait for our trolls to surface with their little whiny baby, crybaby comments, and then we put them out there for all to see. Two tweets. That's pretty epic.
Yep,
well,
that's what we got.
I think we should get into our broadcast today. Quick question, because we didn't talk about this, but the video queued up, ready to go?
No, it is not, but I can get it.
Okay.
I can get it to there. I can get it there.
Get that ready. So we talked about exposing a major troll today in monologue and want to do that. I can't pronounce the guy's last name, so hi there. So we'll just expose the account here when we get it up, and everybody will know who it is, I'm sure. But not too long ago, we had a situation in our church where a young lady who I've been pastoring since she's 4 years old, grew up in this church and graduated from all the different schools we've had, except for college, and became church pianist. Was involved in all the special music and things like that. Soul winning, led people to Christ. Did her best to get people to church, as far as I'm concerned. Give them credit where credit's due, right? Got involved in the bus ministry, and so it was a little bit of a shocker to have this turn out the way it did. And when this young lady decided to leave the church the way she did, she didn't do it quietly, and she decided to cause trouble. And I think her connections with previous members that have left our church and are not happy because they didn't get their way. And generally that's what happens. Folks will sit in church and they'll get mad because I preach or something like that, and then they try to push to get their way, and it doesn't work. And so all the accusations of being controlling come to the surface, and not being charitable. And of course they don't tell you, they don't go out and circulate. We had church members here for years. I paid their rent, put deposits on places for them to live, spent all kinds of time and money on them. They never put those good things out that you do for them. You're a bad man because you made me feel a certain way. And so I'm just kind of wasting time here to see until
I think it's up there. JT, is that on the laptop?
All right.
It's ready?
Well, let's do this. Let's play this troll as he attacks not just me, but my church, my staff, our college, family members. I mean, you'll see it all here. And then what we'll do is we'll just kind of go through it and talk about it a little bit, and then we'll get to interviewing Mrs. Greeley. So go ahead and play that.
Look, I've talked about Bill Reeves on the podcast before. He's a pastor of North Platte Baptist Church. He also is the president of Great Plains Baptist College. It is a tiny college. All of the staff, for the most part, of the church, the college, and all of their other ministries are family. It is a small cult-like ministry. One of the girls from the organization, she is 18 years old, former member of the North Platte Baptist Church. She alleges that Pastor Bill Reeves ordered for a tracking device to be put on her car. He stopped paying her for about 3 months for her work in the daycare, and he confiscated her phone and her laptop for him to review. A tweet from Pastor Reeves' son, Will, confirms that they put the tracking device on the car. The police ended up fining Pastor Reeves for taking her cell phone and her laptop, but they're still investigating the tracking device and some of the other things that were happening over at North Platte Baptist Church.
All right. So that man's first name is Eric. I can't pronounce his last name. but he is the founder of Preacher Boy Podcast. Has to do with what? Do you remember the title of that?
No, I don't.
Independent, fundamental Baptist. I don't know, something abuse. I try not to stay too much on that stuff because it just aggravates the garbage out of me because he's a liar.
Right.
And first I thought we'd just talk about the first thing that you can see on the screen when that video comes up. Basically, it's in there that I am a controlling pastor. So let me defer to everyone around the table.
Do you mind if I plug in my laptop?
No, go ahead, man.
See,
Plug
he's not
it in.
controlling. See?
Plug it in.
Pulled it out of my
Will you let us say whatever we
I
want?
would let you say whatever. Now, well, let's be honest. Did I tell you what to say?
No.
Okay.
I mean, so first off, I mean, if we want to be
Let's go to Pete's camera. There you
quite strict on this controlling, yes, you are, and no, you're not. I mean, depends on what you're asking about specifically. Now, if you're talking about anything having to do with the church and what we do here, then yes, you have complete control of everything that happens in our church. And you have the deciding, well, you could say deciding vote or the final say in what we do and how we practice it and that kind of thing.
So ridiculous about that is that at any moment, the church can vote him out.
Yeah, exactly.
So he doesn't really even have control over it. It's just ridiculous.
So tomorrow we are Mrs. Greeley's going to first the motion. Then
think I'll go.
Someone else will go.
I think what I'll do is sell my house, get me an RV,
There you go.
drive around the country.
That
What a
seems to
good
be
idea.
Announcement to follow.
that seems like a great fad.
What do they call that? New, or I don't know. A bunch of people announced.
So when it comes to that, I mean, if you're not a controlling pastor, then what kind of a pastor are you of your church?
Well, let's break that down. What's that mean, controlling? I mean,
Yeah.
so
the way he means it is obviously he's intending to be a completely derogatory statement and saying that you basically are controlling every single aspect of this young lady's life that's been totally demolished or misused or abused by the ministry here or I think that's what he's insinuating by it. But that is absolutely not true whatsoever.
Yeah.
That is not the case. Every opportunity, I mean, that's why Miss Greeley's here, her mom, is every opportunity was given to this young lady to do right by her own will. And she decided of her own volition to do what she did. Obviously, if you were a controlling pastor, she would have never left, right? She would have never had an opportunity to leave. She would have been locked in a basement someplace. I mean, that's what he's thinking.
Well, if you follow the narrative that he tries to lay down before he gives misinformation to make it slanted towards how he wants it to sound, of course, his information, that's why I said misinformation, because it's not even factual information. But you're exactly right when it goes into controlling. The thing is, you watch that short clip that you guys just played, and there's just so much going on there that you're like, where on earth do you even start at? I guess he could say
the picture, the controlling pastor.
Controlling pastor, I guess, is where you have to start at. And
well, that's right. Yeah, that's why I want to start with the controlling pastor issue. I don't know. I mean, that's a good. You did good saying what I told you to say.
Did I say it right with the right tonal inflection?
Here's the thing. Here's the hard part about it, and we'll get to this in a minute. But he really discredits anything you say, because you're related to me.
Oh yes.
So there's now keep in mind, I don't feed any of them anymore. They have their own homes. I don't ground them. I don't take away privileges. I can't mess with their cars. I have no ability to lock them down arbitrarily. I've tried to fire them numbers of times, but that just doesn't work. They're like the
Show up the next day and clock in anyway.
I don't care what you say.
I'm just kidding.
You can't control
it's one of
me.
those things, Dad.
I'm coming.
Dad, you just need a Starbucks. Calm down. And then, and it works. They control me actually.
Yes.
But I mean, if you're asking, when it comes to our music program, will I come in and say I want this music off the radio? Yes. Do I control that? Yes. Do I have to all the time? No, because I've trained somebody to do that. But if I had to, would I do it? Yes.
the whole narrative of controlling pastor is completely false.
Right.
Yes.
We don't even live in a country where that it can even be possible. Unless you've got us locked down in here and are physically making us, then you are not
I tried
controlling
that
us.
by
Now,
letting COVID loose.
yeah,
They're using a very liberal term of the word controlling, because
Right.
the real problem is there's an authority issue.
Yes.
When someone stands up and is the authority they're supposed to be, if a parent is the authority they're supposed to be, the child won't be allowed to sneak out of their room in the middle of the night.
Jump on the furniture.
Jump on the furniture, because the parent is being controlling. This is the same exact thing, all within the confines of what the Bible defines as biblical authority. And when you have a problem with that, what you do is you try to make everybody think
Sounds
that
like to me
there's
Eric's
a
got
control.
an authority problem.
Oh,
well, if you think about that word controlling, maybe they would say, well, I don't mean he actually physically controls people. It's more
Well, then
of
what
like
do
he
you mean?
wants people to do something a certain way.
Wait.
What?
what do you mean? What do you mean?
Person?
I was trying to get
Well,
him to give me some money. It didn't work.
What do
No,
you
I'm just
mean?
saying-
Wants them to do it a certain way?
Yeah.
Is that wrong?
Isn't that the idea?
Well, I'm saying, is that wrong? Tell me where that's wrong.
They can't define that. They wouldn't be able to say.
They just say what I feel.
What I feel, how my opinion
What I
on
think,
Yeah.
what I feel.
Yeah, but I think there's a line here where they justify themselves. So he wants everything his way. That's what they're talking about, controlling. He wants everything his way. Well, let's talk about this room. Remember that the one area that we had any contention on in building this room was what? That platform. And then what happened? We had contention, but what happened? What did I do?
You locked us in that room, wouldn't feed us.
Flogged you?
Yeah, wouldn't feed us for about 2 weeks until we submitted.
Right.
I think is what
Yeah.
happened.
Or did I look at you and go,
Whatever.
whatever, guys?
I don't even remember.
I'm pretty sure we
Obviously,
were working on
it's
it,
built.
and we were struggling with what we thought would be best, or whose idea thought that would be best. And finally, Dad's like, you know what? I trust that it won't be a mess. And so we sort of, I'm pretty sure you just left it in our hands, really.
I did. And then what happened?
It looked great.
It looks great.
It's a mess.
It looks awesome.
Oh, wait. Which one are we going for?
I think actually, in the end, we compromised on both ends, and
Yeah.
we moved both of our positions a little bit. But
I struggle with any time someone says they're controlling, because they will not define it. They will just use the word controlling and allow everyone's mind to any type of authority to make it sound like they're bad. Like that's wrong.
controlling about, like, if I say all my staff has to wear white shirts on the platform. Controlling, like I say, if you're going to usher, you have to shave.
But
you
what's wrong
you
with
can't
that?
smoke, and you have to tell others about Christ. Controlling, like
Legalism.
if I stand up and preach against Southern gospel music and CCM music, and how our church will never allow that music control our church.
Yeah.
That's control.
If you
all
don't
those
like
things.
it.
But I'm
wait a
saying
minute,
if they can
controlling,
leave.
Like I believe if you're going to be a Sunday school teacher and you're a female, then you have to understand the teaching between the difference between man's dress and woman's dress, and you have to decide that you're going to go with what the Bible teaches on that issue.
Right, but there's the identifier, and that's what I'm talking about. Controlling implies that you have zero way to get out from under that. You do. You just
Right.
if you don't want to be on on staff,
Right.
you will not follow the rules. You can still be here in the church.
So there is a dynamic to our church that I think that does naturally irritate a lot of these small town pastors. We are a small town church. We're a small town. We have a small town church, but we don't run it like these small town pastors do, which is in the under the shadow of the fear of the deacon board and their wives. So, like, if I wanted to sell, or if I wanted to take my pulpit and get rid of it and buy a new pulpit, and as long as I was honest with the church, I came forward, said, "Look, I'd like to do this, da 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 da." For the most part, nobody's really going to say that. I don't care. I don't care what kind of pulpit I'm standing behind. Whatever I would like to do, we don't argue about it. But I would only bring it to you if, number one, I thought was a major move in our church, and somebody actually might personally be connected. Like if you built that pulpit and you would have been offended, yeah, I maybe would come to you.
Blood,
but
sweat,
I
and
wouldn't.
tears.
But I wouldn't not do it.
Right.
This whole idea of not doing something because you're afraid what the people are going to. No, that's when the people are controlling you, and I'm a servant and I'm to serve them, but I don't stop serving them because they don't want me to serve.
Right.
So I have freedoms here. We have built our church financially, fiscally sound. Our bills are paid. We own property, all of these things. So when I come to the church and I say, hey, guys, I think God's let this opportunity come to us, and I paint it in front of the whole church, I don't remember anybody saying no. We always have 100% votes. Now, these guys hate that because they spend most of their time pastoring in fear. They can't do anything. Mm-hmm. And the reason they can't is really because they don't want to. They're lazy, and they know if they pushed on it, they could get their way, but then they would actually have to do the work, and figure out. And so they're really lazy. It's just they don't want to do anything, so they make the people the excuse instead of leading their people, leading their deacon boards, and leading their deacons' wives.
Right.
They don't want to do that because then they're controlling.
I was going to say that's a good. That's a good word to use, leading, and they do this today. They do this. Liberals do this in just the world that we live in the woke culture. Right. The same thing happens in Christianity today, where they're taking words that have been used biblically over decades of time as far as being a leader, and they're changing them to make it a derogatory word. Right. So instead of leader, you're controlling. Instead of separation, it's separatism. So they change all of these little words to make it automatically wrong. Gives it a negative connotation.
Right.
Exactly, which is their way of painting the picture they want you to see.
I think what happened with your daughter and you in this situation is the same as what happened with my deacon and his wife when I first came here. There was no pastor. Brother Smith was very much counted on by what church members were left in there to care for the properties. And so if something broke or there was a water line broke or something, they always called him and he was stuck doing it. But it was pretty much just Brother Smith and his wife that kind of made decisions together, and it affected the church. But when I became the pastor, he wanted to be around me all the time, and I was leading and he was following. And so he would always want to hang out with, which took time away from he and Brother Smith and his wife. And it took a while for her to realize I would rather have a husband that followed the pastor than a husband that was following me. Mm-hmm. And but I had to sit down and counsel her and pastor her on that. And I feel like that's part of the problem that took place was when Mrs. Greeley came back to this church 15 years ago, and I was the pastor, and she heard me preach, and she saw how things were being done and how we were living our lives. She recognized that's the right order. That's how that's supposed to be done. But as her daughter grew up, she felt like she was losing the ability to be a normal teenager, which is to go where she wants to go, do what she wants to do. She was looking at her siblings that were not in the home, doing their own things, going their own directions, and hearing the comments about, you poor, you're being controlled and all that. I think in the back of her head, because she didn't have any doctrinal teaching when she was 4 years old, I think she just basically always warred with that, all the way through. So that became an issue. But I don't know, Mrs. Greeley, you think I'm controlling?
No.
Such a simple answer.
We can do what we want to do, whether it's right or wrong. No one controls. Like you said, they're not. Mm-hmm. You're not making us do anything. It's like we don't have straps on. The puppet.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We're free to come and go.
Pedo.
Yeah, and everybody who left walked out the door.
Yeah.
Nope,
can't bring
they
them
came
back.
freely. Nope.
Yeah, you're a failure as a controlling pastor.
I am.
Because all these people are getting this information out, and if you're really good at controlling them, they wouldn't do that.
Yeah, if we were controlling, we'd be a big church.
Yeah.
Nobody would leave.
Mm-hmm. I'm so controlling that when the narrative comes out, how long ago was this that she left?
December.
So that long ago, I'm so controlling that I immediately put all the truth I'm going to put out today, right? No, you would think somebody that was trying to be controlling or do damage control would immediately gotten on the internet or made videos or that kind of thing. We didn't do that. We just simply said, okay, wait a minute. Let's get our ducks in a row, and let's just keep doing what's right and not get off track here. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time ministering to you, making sure, not because I felt like you were messed up, but I just knew you were hurting. And I wanted you to know you had your church family. So,
Do you want to address any of the other
Yeah,
kooky things he said?
I got it right
Oh,
here.
you do?
It's
Okay.
on the- are you reading the list?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing we can talk about is the college faculty. So it's definitely wrong and cultic when a family's on staff and your ministry is small. Said no one ever.
This is another example of taking a word,
Yeah.
not defining it, but because the word is negative in nature,
Yeah.
he is going to just lump that in. I would love to. What is your definition of cult? Because
Love to know that.
it seems like everyone throws that word out like it's candy these days.
they have their
Like,
own definition.
Cult. Oh, cult. Cult.
Do you want him to explain it?
Here's,
Because I
here's,
don't even
well,
talk
here's
to
the
him.
deal. I would actually say that what he has is a cult following.
Yeah, I agree.
It was like I could.
They worship a man more.
Exactly. So the struggle for me is when you throw the word cult out there.
Cultic.
Cultish, whatever.
yeah.
Cult-like.
You throw that around
Cult-like.
just to once again put another left-leaning brick on top of your foundation, so
They
that you
paint
can
us
spread
with those words. So
They try to,
automatically
yeah.
when you say they're a cultic church, right away everybody knows. Okay, that
Oh, they must be
that's
really
false
bad.
religion,
And he does
False
it in a
religion.
way, and they do it in a way where they're not reporting that.
No,
They haven't got to the news yet.
right.
They're just saying
Right.
these are facts.
Right.
These are
They're
facts.
doing
these
that.
are facts. These are facts. I'll give you the news in just a second.
Right.
See, it's really
Right.
sneaky.
sneaky.
It's very sneaky.
Troll-
He'd be
like-
great on CNN, probably.
be very
probably be
troll-esque.
successful.
He'll be right up there.
But misery loves company when it comes to.
So my
You know,
question is why is the emphasis on small? So where in the Bible does it say a small church can't have a Bible college?
Well, I think it's important to say he doesn't believe in the Bible, right?
No, but we're going to get to that.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying, can we just answer the question? I'm trying to control
There
the
isn't.
narrative here.
There isn't.
I'm saying you
there isn't. But and I think
no-
this is a great example. I think we saw this. We talked about this yesterday a little bit. We touched on it. If you look at everything we do everything as professionally as possible. Now, that doesn't mean everything's perfect. That means we do our best.
I mean, not from my mom's
We're-
basement.
Right. We do our best. We make sure that our websites are as good as we can get them. Nothing's perfect, obviously. So I'm not going to sit there and everything that we've ever done is perfect. Trust me, there are still grammatical errors, I think, on one of our websites that we still need to fix. But it's one of those things where if you do things professionally,
You'll always
people
find
think
something.
But I'm saying people will think for some reason that they associate that immediately with big church. They're trying to be bigger than what they are. We're not. We're just doing. Every church should do it that way.
When
Yeah.
we first started,
Yeah.
when I first got involved with Twitter, I got in an argument with a guy. He's still on Twitter today, just as much an idiot as he's ever been. But he kept making. I couldn't understand why he was so like hostile towards the things that we were doing. Whether I just said we had a big day, or was talking about raising your kids right, or anything. He was just always. And finally, one day, he goes, "You guys and your mega churches," and I said, "Dude, we have 30 people on Wednesday night." Really? Yeah, you moron. The difference is I was taught if you're gonna do something for the Lord, it's worth doing right, which means you do it just like you would do it if you were a big church, and so that's the way we do it.
That sort of response is the exact reason why stuff like this needs addressed. Because you have people out there who will not do the research and look back through our timeline and see that when we say we have big days, it was like 150.
Yeah.
That's
So-
our big day.
Yeah.
So there's 4 Reeves on the pictures that he took from our website. By the way, a troll loves doing that. They love going to your website
That does look good.
and picking things up. Well,
I know. I'm teasing.
great for you. Picking things off and then painting them like they're back. Immediately when he puts those pictures on there and he puts their names and he puts
Captions,
stamps on there,
captions,
and captions and all that, it's like boom, evil. Boom, evil. And that's what it says. It's just constantly putting a stamp, evil, wrong, back. Watch out for these people; they're so bad. And that's a troll's MO. That they can't look at that website and go first class, nice. But the average person who even gets a glimpse of it, has half a brain, will go to our website, go through the whole thing, and go, "This is pretty."
I literally thought about that when I was watching the video. That's the first time I think I've watched the entire thing. And he said, Will Reeves put the tracker, and he puts that real professional picture of you on there.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't match with what he's saying. I'm just watching that. I'm like,
did you see how he
that's a
colored
nice
it?
picture.
He changed the coloring of it to make it look more gothic, more dark.
No, I'm talking about his picture.
Yeah, but I'm talking about all of that. Yes. And
Yeah, you're talking about a different point than I'm making, but yes.
But I'm saying that he's making all these changes, but it's still, it doesn't
Right,
change
but
the
I'm
professionalism.
exactly,
of
and that's
we've
what I'm
done.
saying is if anybody that has any, what would you call that? Ability to
Sense?
connect. Yes, sense. Connect.
Yeah.
Oh, don't
brains,
say
yeah.
that. It's offensive.
No, I'm just saying anybody who has the ability to look at some discernment. You're able to look at something and go,
You're changing definitions now.
this doesn't match, or this does match, or and you look at the professionalism and what he's saying, and not that that's factual at all, but it just doesn't. It doesn't match.
All
It doesn't.
the pictures, all the people sitting in those pictures had the same background. They were sitting at the same angle. They were dressed in pretty much the same color clothing. That definitely is a sign of a cult.
Oh, yes.
That's
Totally.
all those are indications of a cult. I mean, you think about, you got In-N-Out cult, you got McDonald's cult, you got Wendy's cult, you got all these cults.
I'd
Hey,
have to be a
careful! I
member of
like
all
some of those cults.
Those cults are good.
Some of those cults pay good.
They pay good.
Every single NFL team is a cult because they have matching uniforms. Every single one of them. Why is that? It's a professional look, professional football, professional look. And here's the thing: this guy is such a fraud and a fake and a phony. He is taking those things and putting them out there real quick, doom, 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 flashing them out there and saying words like cultic.
Cult-like.
See, the
Cult
thing is,
like.
he just didn't go far enough with all his additives to the pictures. He should add little devil horns, and mustaches, all those little things. I mean, it's the same
Beards.
exact thing. Yeah, beard.
That'd be good.
I mean, but that's exactly what he was doing to them. He was altering them to conform
I
to
would like to
Plain
know-
the simple fact. Go ahead.
I would like to know why having family on staff is bad. Why is
They
that
are
bad?
horrible to deal with.
No, but,
Well, Jim Jones
besides that.
Jim Jones led a cult,
Yeah.
right? And took people out of America to another country, and they all drank purple Kool-Aid and died. And surely his whole family was living for the Lord. No, they want to draw this line between people who actually are successful doing what they started out trying to do, but because they weren't sincere, they were fake and phonies, and they couldn't be the poster boy for fundamentalism because people found out. And then here's somebody like me, gets out of prison, has a hard life, pulls myself out of the muck and the mire. God does something with them, and I'm not perfect, but I own my mistakes, and and we actually, my wife and I actually raised 4 children who love the Lord and stay faithful. And we've not made you sign contracts to stay here. We've not brought. I'm not control. If God wants you to go somewhere, matter of fact, I've tried to make you leave.
I just clock in the next day.
But I mean, I'm like, hey, if
Right.
you want to go somewhere else, you can. I don't have a problem saying that to you. I acknowledge
Right.
if you're not happy, then let's make sure you're doing what God wants you to do. But yet here you are. So I would guarantee you, pastors that are right with God that have ever lost a child, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But I promise you, they sit back and say, if I could do it over and keep my kids and not have fame and fortune and not be, nobody knew who I was, I would do that. I would trade that to keep my children living for the Lord. But it breaks the hearts of mothers and fathers to see their children doing that. But it doesn't mean guys like me should sit back and cower and not say anything about, hey guys, we need to raise godly. We can raise godly children. We can keep our kids right with God and encourage them to do that.
And I'm sure there's a part of that does irk these trolls, and it irritates them that they can see a family serving together, happy, working, successul. I'm not saying we've got the biggest church around. I'm not saying we do everything right all the time, but we're happy. And I think when people who are bitter because they know they're choosing what is wrong, and their life is reflecting their choices by their unhappiness, their constant viewing in through the window of other people's lives, through social media, through online platforms, they're not content with their own life, because they look through and they see Like on a cold Christmas day when it's snowing and icy out, you look through a window and you see a family that's inside that's happy. That's what they are.
Yeah.
They're that poor little troll that's outside viewing in.
So
and
they
the
throw a
only
rock
thing
through
they
the
can
window
do, the only
just to
thing
make
they can
them
do is to label us as they must be a
Exactly what you said, Dad.
Yep.
Try and throw rocks through the window
Try to
to
throw
ruin
rocks.
what they think
Yeah.
is wrong. Because another thing I was thinking is the default that they'll go back to, with why is it wrong that the families all serving together will say, well, you guys are probably brainwashed. You're probably being held there against your will.
Stockings.
Blink twice if you need help.
It's because of the pay.
That was 3 times.
I don't really,
saying.
I'm brainwashed, so I can't.
Yeah.
But it's just like it's
3 hits.
their logic makes no sense, and the fact that they're willing to put stuff out there without definitions and just in a negative way to try and slant or throw rocks like that. It's just
it's heartbreaking.
how do they have any credibility?
It's one thing when I, as a pastor, lose a kid and my heart is broken, but here's what's really bad. There'll be a judgment someday where Eric will stand before God and God will look at him and say, your decisions pulled your parents away from what was right. I can't tell you how many kids have bailed out on the things they were taught, the things of the Word of God, just like the verse says in 1 Timothy that I used to today in the monologue. And they've gone a different way. Their parents break under the pressure and the brokenheartedness, so they compromise. Their music goes south. Their standards go south. They no longer are independent Baptists because, Eric has done more damage to the cause of Christ as far as I'm concerned.
Which he doesn't care
I would
about.
like
He
to
should be
talk.
talking
I would,
about that.
I've had a little bit of a run-in with him in the past. I think 2-3 years ago on his little
Right.
clown show that he's got there on YouTube. He made I don't even remember what it was, but somehow they were talking about me. And I don't know if it was a comment, but it was basically painting a picture of how I was brainwashed, I was held here against my view. Poor guy, blah, blah, blah. I don't even really remember. But I was just so sick of it. So you remember that?
Yeah,
I posted
I
a
remember
video
that.
on social media and I called him out and I said, hey, bro, what is your problem? I said, I'm 20.
You
I
didn't
don't
call
remember.
him
I
out
think
by
I was.
name, but you should have.
No.
Oh, he
I don't
responded.
think I
He
did.
responded.
I
Oh,
did.
Yeah.
I think I did end up messaging. He messaged me and I messaged him on Twitter. But I basically told him, I was like, look, I'm driving in a car that I bought.
Yeah.
I live in a place that I rent.
Right.
I am 20. I remember what was 22 years old, 23 back then when I made the video. Doesn't matter.
Your bank account, your
Yeah.
food, your
But now
clothes.
he's true, and he was like he's right. But now I'd like to talk to him again. I'm back again after I was spent 9 months away.
Oh, you mean I didn't send you away?
So there's something really
Wait a
wrong
minute.
with
That's
me.
another
Both
thing
of
they
us.
kept
Both
saying.
of
Something
us.
wrong with
Sent
us
you guys
Yeah.
away.
is we left. And you know what? You were there every night, making sure I was in my.
your people.
That's what I'm saying. It's so ridiculous. Like, and it's so much of what he says right there at the beginning is found in
jealousy.
zero fact. It's all just to set you up to accept the load of garbage that he's about to feed.
And if you've got two eyes in your head and you just look, I don't understand. Here's the thing. Anybody who has this problem, there are some simple people I'm sure that do get tripped up by some of this stuff for sure. They don't have maybe enough wisdom to dig deep enough. If they really want to know, they just let it shade their opinion about us. But those who actually care, you can look at our family, you can look at the church, you can look at the timelines of our social media and our web page and just see what we're about, and it would dismiss all of
Check
whatever
us
you
out,
think.
man.
You just be like,
Come on down.
Yeah, message us. Come visit us. Whatever.
Come to church.
Thing is, people know better, and the only people that don't, they're the ones. They're just bitter. They're bitter because they're living wrong, and they know they are, and they have to justify their living by accusing everybody else of how they're a cult.
If they can't be happy, they don't want anybody else.
Misery
to be happy.
loves
But let me say
company.
this: we didn't do any of this. God did this because, you can't. I've been here almost 20 years. You can't be that faithful for that long, fake it that long, and be so blessed. You just can't. There's no way. I've never seen anybody do it.
Right.
So I thank the Lord Jesus Christ for loving us and being gracious to us. And I know that if our kids turned out, ultimately, to God be the glory. He choose good spouses. I was really worried about Pete. He was the first one coming in our family. I didn't know if he was, really going to be a good guy or not, but he's a good guy.
he's all right.
He's all right.
Thanks. That's why I stayed.
And then Will, you got a wonderful wife.
Amen.
And she's a blessing. Got a baby on the way.
Amen.
So excited for you
It's
guys.
exciting.
And then
Then David.
He had a good son.
We're close.
It's all Saul.
And Hope's such a blessing to her old man. I often will weep tears of regret just simply that God hasn't emboldened the brave young man to come speak to her, and she's a diamond. I'd say diamond in the rough, but she's just awesome. And we couldn't, as a church, the last 18 years, could not enjoy what we're enjoying without having someone standing behind me the way she has all these years. So, I've got my daughter, Jewel. So not just a great daughter, but an awesome wife to you, Pete, a great mother, and does a great job in the school. Her heart's so intense on trying to serve the Lord in the Christian school, and then also involved in all the music programs. And these are you're just all real, genuine people who come with your faults and difficulties, but you love the Lord so much. That's why I know that no matter what, we can always work through those things because you all clearly love the Lord, and that's a blessing. So, saying all that, let me just kind of steer this off. I'm going to send it over to Will to give the first question to Mrs. Greeley. I've asked that I not do a lot of the interviewing because I don't want to seem controlling or leading for that matter, but we'll let the questions kind of just go around the room. And I don't care if you guys want to say you want a certain question or not, you can do that, but just go ahead and fire away.
Right. And these questions are all addressing the issue that we had actually played at the beginning with that video. So, but Mrs. Greeley, did Pastor Reeves put a tracking device on your daughter's vehicle?
No, he did not.
I'm trying to think.
There's a lot of questions. Don't ask the same questions.
Was there a device put on your truck?
Yes, there was.
Why?
Because I couldn't trust her. She wasn't going where she said she was going. She wasn't doing what she's supposed to do. I couldn't trust her, and so I put it on her.
Can you give us an illustration?
Well, I'm sorry. I wanted to clarify something on there because it does say, because we asked first about your daughter's vehicle, but whose vehicle actually did it belong to?
She received it as an inheritance from her grandpa.
Right.
And both of our names was on it because she was only 18. And so I
put in Nebraska, 18 is a
minor.
Is a what?
A minor.
It's a minor.
You're not an adult until 19.
Funny how even police officers don't know what a minor is?
Yep.
In the state of Nebraska. So you actually had legal ownership of the vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. So you put a tracking device in your own vehicle.
Basically, yes.
That she was using.
Yes.
Okay.
And whose idea was it to put the tracker on?
It was mine. I went to pastor and
no.
You thought for yourself.
I'm the one that initiated it. No one came to me. I wanted to find something I could do to help her get mobile again because she had lost her phone or her pickup, and she needed to be able to do something, and I wanted her to be able to prove she could be trusted, and so I put the tracker
As
on.
a mother trying to take care of her daughter,
Yes.
a minor, you took extra steps to try and find a way to keep her safe.
Yes.
Okay.
Which no one ever thinks about trackers being something which is ridiculous. That's half the point.
I think it's a
More
little.
than
It
that.
feels a little. People can, for some reason, conceptually can't grasp the idea of a tracker when 99.9% of teenagers at that age have a phone, and most parents are tracking their children via their phone.
Okay, so we were out at the camp for Labor Day, sitting around the table, and we were talking about this broadcast, and all of a sudden, one of the girls said something about 360. I don't know.
Life. I don't know. What
Yeah,
it's
like
called,
360 or
Life
families.
360.
Yeah.
And I was shocked at how many of them were doing that to each other. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's weird because I wouldn't never thought.
But the motivation for putting it on the vehicle was because you can turn your location off on your phone. You can is that correct? So
Yes.
we're trying to actually track the vehicle, which is where you were having the problem. Okay, I'm just trying to clarify some things as we ask these questions.
And she didn't have her phone at this time either
Okay.
Why?
because she couldn't be trusted.
Yeah. Why?
Because she would She didn't go first. She said she was going to go.
No,
She
wait.
didn't answer
when
the
you
phone.
first meet her, though, because she's been raised in this environment, when the average person would meet her on the street, they would never believe that she would do some of the things that
Yes.
she did.
Yes.
And so she would come off to the average person on the street or family member that isn't part of the church wouldn't know what she'd been doing with her social media and her laptop and all those kind of things
Yeah. She came across as was very straight, very
to
together.
everybody else.
David, do you want to ask the next one?
Did you tell her? Were you going to originally tell her that the tracker was on the vehicle?
No, I wasn't going to tell her. I was going to use it as a way for to prove herself.
Right. Okay. So your idea was put it on there, and just pay attention to it and
Yes.
see if she really is honest or not.
Yes.
Because why tell her?
Right.
Whose idea was it to tell her?
Pastor.
Okay.
I can never understand why people think a parent, when dealing with a 17, 18, 19-year-old, would still have rules in their house. Why they have a problem with that.
I do.
The time they have to be back. So since leaving your home, she's been in multiple homes because she's not had the ability to care for herself.
Yes.
And each home we've heard reports back that she's worn her welcome out by not obeying those rules.
Yes.
So it wasn't a church problem.
No.
It wasn't a home problem necessarily.
No.
It was a heart problem.
So
Kind of like Eric doesn't like authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, to be clear, this controlling pastor asked you, said probably be a good idea if you tell her, the
Yes.
person that you will be tracking, that you are tracking her,
That
even
you
though
are
she is a minor.
Yes.
Trying to
So
And you technically didn't have to.
you didn't have to.
No. It was your own
Sounds like
vehicle.
somebody was.
Did you install this tracker yourself?
I had it. I paid someone to do it.
Oh, okay. Another company?
Yeah.
Yes.
Who? Pray tell who? Who did it?
Get
Who
a
did
light.
it?
Where were you on the night of?
No, that's another issue. It's okay we bring it up because the company that put it on is owned by my son.
Right.
Yes. And it was done
On church
the
property?
street. No.
Oh,
It was done on a public street in broad daylight. Mm-hmm. Anyone driving
right
by could have
outside
seen.
your house.
Yeah, right outside a house. I mean, just.
Yeah.
And she approached me. I honestly didn't even know there was another party involved, so I didn't know any of the backstory. There was nothing. It was a paid service, something that I do for companies. I can install asset tracking
installed
devices.
cameras in people's homes before, haven't you?
I have.
So who paid for the traffic?
Mrs. Greeley.
I did.
She did.
I still have it.
You still have it?
Yes.
Do you want me to put it on your car?
Are you tracking yourself?
Tracking yourself.
Yes.
Make sure
Remind you
you're
where
going
it's
where
at.
you need to go.
Take a picture of it. Tracker.
There it is.
Yeah.
So the idea of the tracker, completely your own.
Yes.
And
Not
Okay.
coerced, not told, suggested, or nothing. It was all mine.
Did
Wait,
go ahead,
can
go
I
ahead.
just point something out on that
Sure.
video? He brought up a tweet or something that you put out.
Yeah.
What was that about?
So initially, when they started going nuts about trying to say that, oh
Not just
no,
him.
he's a predator, he put a tracker on a girl, and just totally, I was like, well, maybe that side's not being shared. And I know that as a business service, I supplied this for a mom. And that's exactly what I said. You pause that video and you read the tweet that I put out, it says it on there. The factual, like, this is what happened. She approached me. She was trying to find a way to keep her daughter accountable. And she installed it on her own vehicle. Like, all those words, like everything we've talked about is
so
in there.
here's the interesting thing about that is there was a certain young man that we've known since he's been a child because we supported his dad.
Right.
And he had an interest in Jewel years ago and wanted to date her, and Jewel's like,
Praise
"No,
the Lord.
thank you.
Praise the Lord.
And so, which was fine with me because I wasn't interested in my daughter marrying somebody who thought they could use the military to pay all their bills and then be in the ministry.
Still not in the ministry. by the
Yeah,
way.
right. So it just wasn't something that lined up with me. But thousands of dollars invested in that family, supporting them, and he gets on with his punky attitude, like he knows your business. He knows how your business is set up. And begins to
Yeah.
challenge every aspect. Are you licensed?
If there's one thing that I know from being in this business, in this field of work, it's anybody who's ever picked up a computer and Googled something is an expert. And it's like they could have never. They've never.
But they can't read.
But they've never.
They can't read.
Exactly.
Honestly. You can Google it.
You're right.
People can
You're
Google
right.
tweets and they don't read the tweets.
They've never installed anything. They've never written a line of code. They have not done anything. Nothing. And yet they can sit back
His dad
and
did.
say, yeah. And I think he was going to school for something like that. So these days, everybody can Google
But everything
code, I
that
guess,
you
so.
did had to be now painted like you were doing something wrong and illegal, and you're perverted. You're married.
What they did was
and
they
they're
took
trying
it.
to make you as a predator.
They tried to take what I said and use that as, it's been verified. Here's the proof. Like they tried to say,
'Cause you
installed,
said you put it
you
on.
said to install a tracker, and here's the proof. He verified.
Yeah.
Like, but if you read what I wrote, that's not what I said. So that I got a little bit frustrated at that because I was like, you guys aren't even reading. You're not reading what I wrote. You're just
Well, it's
putting
not
out
just
lies.
that. It's the idea of making you the predator of an 18-year-old single girl who, when you're married, like that automatically assumes that you have some kind of perverted, we call it a perverted idea in your head towards someone.
Bandana, yeah.
Not vendetta.
Yeah, I definitely saw more people taking it as like proof that it was you that told them to put it in because I'm on staff here, and they immediately associated everything because I'm on staff.
How much money
associated
did
with
I
the
get
church.
out of that?
None. Well, here's the thing: I didn't even know you were a part of the whole thing. It was just I was providing
My
a
name
service
is
for
not
someone.
Biden, and you're not my.
Yeah,
What's Hunter?
it's just
You're not
it's
Hunter.
ridiculous.
You weren't controlling.
I
it.
could actually go
kickback.
back. I could go back and screenshot the text messages from when she initially asked, "Hey, can we meet and talk about this?" And I want to put some. And I was like, "Yeah, sure, sounds
Right,
good."
right.
So, anyway, continuing on. I lost my place. David, do you want to?
The next, I guess we're moving on to the next topic.
The next topic was her not being paid for 3 months.
Right.
Is what
That was what he
addressed
said,
on-
yeah.
That's what he said. in
Said
the video.
stopped getting paid. Yeah.
Okay.
So
you
go
want to?
Yeah. Did Pastor stop paying Desi to work at the daycare?
She got fired.
Yeah.
Oh, that explains that.
Left that detail out.
Why she got fired?
Yeah. Why was she fired?
Yeah. Well,
What was she fired for?
Because she left and she wouldn't come back.
so she didn't show up for work, basically.
Basically, yes.
So she got fired for not showing up to work.
Pete, would you
kind
have
of
lost
normal.
any of your jobs?
Yeah,
in the-
probably.
let's just say not
No
even
call,
ministry.
no show.
Let's say not even ministry because ministry's not a job. But let's say a real job. Would you have gotten fired if you didn't show up?
They're so controlling. They would have fired me on the spot.
You must have had
Here's the thing. These Yardbirds don't even know this is a no-fault state.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can fire somebody in my mind because they're ugly. As long as I don't say that.
That's what happened to David.
Yeah.
Oh, for 9
All those
months.
times,
yeah.
he just kept
ugly.
clocking back
It's
in.
a no-fault state. I don't have to have a reason. I could just dismiss somebody.
Yeah.
And I know the woke crowd, oh, that's evil. It's the law. It's okay. Calm down.
Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is I didn't fire for no reason. I had a reason. I would fire anybody who just
Are we
didn't
paying?
show up.
Are we paying you to be here?
No. Sorry.
Just was wondering. If she's getting paid, I want to paid.
Well, technically.
Why did? Okay, so then
Not Saturday.
So then, if she was fired, why then did Pastor allow her to come and volunteer at the daycare?
So that she wouldn't be at home by herself. So
Because
she-
because you're at work, right?
Yes. And she only worked 2 months. She started in October, quit in December.
Oh, so it wasn't even 3 months.
No, 2.
So that's fake news too.
So just to kind of put this out there, you approached me because she had lost her job. During that time, when she lost her job, I was still pastoring her.
Yes.
So she was still coming to church.
Yes.
She had already tried to go to another church or another family member, your son,
Yes.
and poison him about me and you. And it took a little while for that to kind of die down a little bit. But she came back to your home, and she said she wanted to get things right with you, get things right with the church, with me, with God, period, across the board. One of the things I had her do, I recommended she did, was spend time with another lady in the church going through a recovery program. Did she do that?
For a couple weeks. And then COVID hit. She got COVID, and the other lady got COVID.
Okay. But she did go down that. So I was working with her to try to spiritually realign her life.
Yes.
And then you came to me and said, Pastor, I don't know what I'm going to do because I have to go to work and she's at home and we don't have the thing going on with this lady in the church anymore because of COVID. Do you have any ideas? Mm-hmm. And it was my idea to offer her a volunteer position. I told you I wouldn't hire her back. I wouldn't pay her because I can't trust her. But if she wanted to, that's fine. And I remember I did tell you, I hate saying this, but I did tell you that we need to offer it to her, but also tell her at this age, you can go out and get your own job.
Yes.
And, so I put all that on the table when I talked to her. Mm-hmm. And she was sitting there and you were sitting there. I didn't do it in private.
So she knew it was an unpaid, she was volunteering. She's not getting paid.
Ask her.
Yes.
She knew that.
Yes. She wasn't
forced to do it. It was her choice.
Yes.
With the knowledge.
She could have gone out and got a paying job at McDonald's or some other secular place, correct?
Yes.
So let me ask you this. This was nothing that we really went over in history, but it popped in my head today as I was thinking through all this stuff. One of the things I felt like she got really aggravated towards the end because it got close to bonus time. And she had lost her job. So I don't give bonuses to people who get fired.
No job does that. No job will seek out those who
Right.
were fired and give them their bonus.
So she had come back as a volunteer, but everybody else was getting these huge bonuses. And I brought each person into my office and handed them their check, let them see how much they got, told them I loved them, was grateful for all that kind of stuff. I couldn't bring you in and Desi in and not give Desi in nothing. Did she get a bonus check?
Yes, she did.
Oh, she did?
Yes, she did.
Oh, she did. Even though she was a volunteer.
Yes.
Was it anywhere near what she would have got if she would have showed up to work?
No.
So wait a second.
Just so you know, I want people to know. She got a $100 bonus check. Is what she got. What did you get?
1,000.
You don't remember?
No.
It was back in
That was 9
December.
months ago.
It was that long ago.
Sorry.
So bonus checks were huge.
Yes.
Bonus checks were huge. Some got $5,000 bonus checks. So
I'm going to ask this question to Peter instead of Pastor because Pastor knows the answer, but I know Peter would know this answer. On the legal side of things, having volunteers work in a church ministry, is that legal? Like unpaid volunteers, is that a legal thing to do?
Yes.
In the state of Nebraska?
Yeah.
Okay.
in any state.
In any state. Should be pretty much
Well,
in
I
any
just want to
country. as far
clarify,
as I know.
state of
Church doesn't
Nebraska.
exist without
Anywhere in the
volunteers.
world.
You're right, exactly. Mrs. Greeley, that's what
Volunteers.
you were aware of?
Yes.
And that's what,
Could,
okay.
could you
I just wanna make
imagine
sure.
if we had to pay every Sunday school teacher, every song leader, every soloist,
man.
maybe Presbyterians and Catholics do that.
Oh,
Honestly, most of the time
I'm
it's
in
just the
awe.
musicians, like,
Yeah.
the pianists or
But could
organists
you-
or people
could
like
you
that, they'll be
imagine,
paid.
every aspect of everything that's done in this ministry had to be paid out. We could never do what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So people, out of the goodness of their hearts, give of their time.
But the people don't understand
Call
that.
it
People,
volunteering.
They even
And
do
by
that at
definition,
Walmart,
a volunteer
don't they?
is unpaid.
Don't those old guys in the front, the greeters, aren't those?
I don't know if they do
volunteers?
that anymore, Dad. I really
they
don't.
stopped
I don't
doing
know
it?
if they do that anymore, but they used to.
Yeah.
They used to. Oh, the Christmas, like the
Santas?
the
but
volunteering.
here's the thing: we're actually hitting on the
Those are
root of all
volunteers.
evil here.
That's Salvation
And-
Army, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's when you look at those who attack Independent Fundamental Baptist and specifically this guy.
Eric.
They don't understand. They are very negative towards anybody who has to do anything and not get paid for it because they don't know what it means to serve others
They're
and to
doing
serve
a
God.
podcast. They're not getting paid for that.
But they're doing it for themselves and they're doing it for the whatever. It's the exact same logic. It really is. I'm sure that they think it's a ministry. I'm sure. But I'm just saying, it's like if they look into somebody else's, if they don't agree with it, if that's the key. If they don't agree with it, then they condemn it. Then it's wrong. Then you're overworking. Then you're a slave master. It's just like it doesn't make any sense because if you look at any church, it's not even in Baptist churches. You look at any denomination,
You look at any organization.
Any
doesn't matter. It
organization.
doesn't talk about.
You look at anything that's successful.
That is
It is
true.
fueled, driven by volunteer.
When I
time.
worked at the hospital, they actually, and they still to this day, they have a whole group, a whole department dedicated to volunteers.
Yeah.
Volunteer workers. They're older folks that are retired. They'll come in, they'll sit at the front, and they'll be part of the volunteer desks around the hospital. And they don't get paid.
It's a good point for me to stop here and say, I'm not going to expose or share with all of the public every aspect of our financials, but I'll ask Pete. Pete, do I ever count the offerings?
No.
Do you ever see me touching the offerings?
No.
Do I ever get in the books that you guys record all the offerings in?
No, not that I've seen you.
Okay. How many times have I ever pulled you in the office and said, hey, I checked your tithing records?
Never.
Okay. How many years you been on staff?
8.
Okay, well, no,
I had to think.
I do want people to understand this. I think they see the financial blessings of God, and they think I'm sitting behind my desk with stacks of money.
For me,
He's
two for
Ebenezer
me,
Big
one
Cruz.
for you.
Right.
Two for me, one for you.
So I think people need to understand that I don't sign checks. I have a financial secretary who keeps the books, pays the bills. My deacons.
Is she family?
No. My deacon, who's not my family, and my assistant pastor or assistant pastors, my deacon, and then one of our staff men, mostly it's you, will sit in the office every Sunday night, count offering. We have a double booking system. One does one thing, one does another. We organize everything. The accounts have dedicated monies. They get shifted to those accounts. I never see them. I don't have arbitrary access to I just don't. Everything that I do, I'd say beforehand. I'll call Chris and I'll say, Chris, hey, need to do this. I say, okay, Pastor. If the money isn't there, she'll say, well, we don't have the money there, Pastor. And I'll say, well, take it out of Will's account. That's fine. I won't say that.
I knew it.
But this idea that I personally,
You've got something to gain from her not getting paid.
yeah, I mean, honestly, seriously, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all.
Let me ask this about Desi and her spirit, her attitude during this time frame. Why would she be willing, with looking at her now and how she portrays herself, going back, did she have that type of attitude when this was happening? Was she like being made to volunteer? Why would she be willing to volunteer?
She was doing what she was supposed to do to get, she said she wanted to get her heart right. Wanted to.
So her spirit was right at that time, at least as far as what you can tell. Like she wanted to gain back the trust that she felt she lost.
Yes.
She wanted to get right with God. She wanted to make amends, I guess, or just build her life back to what it needed to be.
Yes.
Because I think it's an important aspect,
Right.
because a lot of those recovering undies out there, what they like.
That is awesome.
I've been saying recovering undies. My
Really?
hashtag is recovering undies.
That's great.
What they like.
Anyway.
You say, it's fundies. It's supposed to be fundies.
It's undies.
Whatever.
Yeah.
What they like to do out there is they like to portray that their spirit that they have now is what they always had. They come out of the church and they say, I was oppressed. But while they were going to church, while they were serving the Lord, they had a spirit of really wanting to please the Lord, of really wanting to do right.
Right.
But then when they got bitter and they gave up and they quit trying to do what was right, their spirit and their attitude, way changed. So now that everybody views them, thinks that this type of spirit they have now, they always had, and they were just in bondage and oppressed inside of a church somewhere. But the truth is, Desi wasn't like that. And I remember her being.
No.
I'm not saying that you couldn't see that there were conflicts there or things that she was working on, but her spirit was, I'm going to work through this. I love the Lord, and this is a way that I can serve the Lord and give back and get back on the right track. So, interesting to me.
Do you feel that I've been over backwards to try to help her? I mean, she was a church pianist, and when she pulled her little games as a spiritual person that's in the front, supposed to be spiritual, I wouldn't let her continue. She had to prove that she was going to press forward for the cause of Christ on her own, make her own choices. And when she did that, how fast did I put her back in that position?
As soon as you could.
Right.
All she did was have to show that she was trying.
There's another piece of the story that's given that I think we need to. It'd be good to ask the question: Did Pastor take or confiscate? Did Pastor take?
No.
Her and how did we finish that?
You know where you're going.
Did Pastor take or confiscate her phone and laptop?
No. I went and asked her for it, and I took it and gave it to. He wasn't even in town at the time. I gave it to his secretary.
Okay, but why? So why though? Why did you give them to him?
Wait, did you actually give them to him?
I gave him the both. No, he was
No. Okay, so why did you want to get them out of your
possession?
Get them out of your
Yeah.
possession.
Because she wasn't doing what she was supposed to with them. The phone was to keep contact with, where she's going, to let me know where she's at, that she was safe, when she was on her way home, and she wasn't doing that. And also,
Or was she also doing wrong with it? Calling people she shouldn't call.
Yes.
Using it in the improper fashion, ways she knew you wouldn't be pleased.
Yes.
In taking them though to say like the church secretary putting them there, what was your reason for that? Why not just keep them yourself?
Because I knew that she would get them.
She would come find them and
Yes.
Okay.
She's done that in the
She's
past.
Yes.
sneaky,
She's taken your phone,
dishonest,
Yes.
and your iPad.
like every teenager out there.
Yes.
Yeah, which
Whether
is
you-
not
whether you think
surprising.
so or not.
And so let me just be clear: we're not, in no way are we saying that this is a demonically possessed child.
No.
We're not saying that. We're not saying she's worse than the average bear. We're just saying she's normal. So the things that she's doing and hiding from the general public when you see Desi, and then you hear she would do this, and this, you'd go, "Wow, I don't believe that at all." So, the reason we've handled this the way we did is because you live in this town, your family's still in this town. I mean, no disrespect to you. I mean, no disrespect to your family members that are, that live in this town. I want the door open. I've done the funerals in your family. They have been in there. I've made sure there have been fellowships afterwards so they can get around and eat and get to see people they haven't seen in a long time, and make sure that your husband and his dad, when they went on to heaven, were treated with respect.
My dad.
Yeah, your dad. This girl's loved, and she's still loved.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And your family may not like me, but I love them. If they come through the door, I'm glad they're here.
Mm-hmm.
If they want to do right, I'm glad they're here. But if they're unnecessarily giving you a hard time, I'll be a little bit partial to you, and I'm going to stand a little bit more on your side on those things. Doesn't mean that they wouldn't be welcome, but I'm not going to let them disrespect. I'm not going to let them disrespect you. And so to me, all these years of your life, you've been faithful to the Lord Jesus Christ. Perfect? No. But faithful? Yes. Made your core decisions based on biblical principles, and that's something to be respected. I think they said something in the Bible. The Bible says something about gray hair, right? And
That's white.
but I just want to be clear that this is not being done today to take down Desi or take down any family member, grieving family member. This is done to take down Eric, who he doesn't know me, he's never been here, never met face to face. He knows nothing about my ministry, nothing, zero.
And he called before he put out that video.
No,
right?
he didn't.
Okay.
He emailed
called
before.
me. No,
He
no
contacted.
emails,
He
no
checked his
contacts.
facts.
No, he didn't contact.
Mrs. Greeley, did he call you to check?
Maybe he contacted you.
No one
guys.
has. No one has called me.
Okay.
Did he contact you guys?
No.
No?
Nope.
So his reports are strictly by way of previous members, which we know who
And we
you
can
are.
trust, now looking at, this.
We know who you are.
How he deals with this information in regards to shedding light on IFB abuse.
Yes,
he
such
must be
reliable.
really reliable.
Oh, yeah.
On every
all of
other
his sources
situation
with
and-
everything else. I'm not saying everything he said is false, but I honestly, how do I know?
How would I have to, I would have to sort through and do twice the work to try and figure out if what he's saying. Why would I even listen
It's almost
to
like he's controlling the narrative,
controlling?
abusing the story.
I think it's important to identify, almost like David did earlier, that her spirit was before was that she wanted to, she wanted to do what was right. She was wanting to mend relationships and draw closer to the Lord, and she knew that there were steps that needed taken. In the area of the laptop and the phone, was that something where you were like, you have to give this to me, or what did she offer her? That, say, I'm willing to do
It was part of
that.
a choice, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Probably shouldn't have said that.
That's all right. I wanted to clarify and make sure that it was her choice.
Yes.
The basic assumption or inferring that I took her track phone floors me. I have been openly criticized on Twitter for having had the latest and the greatest iPhone. This is an iPhone 13 Pro Max.
Oh, that's so yesterday.
One
I was saying that about
terabyte of
today.
storage, right?
Yeah.
It's a $1,500 phone.
They stick a terabyte in that?
Terabyte.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so it's $1,500. And here's the thing. The wonderful thing is my church supplies for me. Well, they're not mad or they do. This does not bother them.
Mm-hmm.
Except Pete. He just wanted it. I want it for that. Hand it over. Yeah. But my point is that this is sitting on my desk. I had a 12 Pro Max sitting on
You have no need. That's what
my
you're
desk
getting.
The point is,
behind me.
you have no need.
You have no
Could
need.
someone please tell me to what financial benefit to take a track phone that's going to run out of minutes, and it's not even a data. I can't even go to Twitter.
Here's another good question. I think that needs answered. And Dad, Pastor, Dad, my father, great
Boss.
one,
Yes, son.
controlling one.
Yes,
I would like to ask you this question.
Yeah.
In the transaction that happened where the phone, the laptop, and such was dropped off, did you physically receive those?
I wasn't even here.
Did you touch them?
No,
Okay.
I got a phone call from my church secretary, Hope.
So really, the one is Hope. She's the one who took them.
She received them.
But what I'm saying by the same lie, they can't. You're not even the one who took this, so they can't say it was you.
It wasn't a matter of taking. It was a matter of receiving.
I agree, but I'm saying even if you were, I'm saying you weren't even the one who reached out and received them. You
no, wasn't
physically
even
did
in
not.
town.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it's like facts are so they're not.
They're lying.
Ask this,
news.
Mrs. Greeley.
Expounding on that, Hope didn't take it either. I put it on her desk.
There
So
you go.
nobody actually took it from
She
me.
called me and said, "What am I supposed to do?" Mrs. Greeley dropped off Desi's phone and laptop. I said, "Put it in the closet in my office. Just put it in the closet." It was in a
Backpack.
backpack or I don't know, computer backpack. I never even opened it. The first time I saw that is when Desi came to me at the start of college. Actually, she came to me. She was just starting college, and I said, "You're going to need your laptop. Can I give you your laptop back, and you promise that you won't get on the internet and do something stupid?" She goes, "Yeah." And so I gave her the laptop. I didn't give her the phone. I gave her the laptop, and I talked to you about it before I did that because I realized she's starting college, so she was going to need it.
Were you going to add another question?
Yeah,
I was going to move on. Go ahead.
I was going to say, let's put the VCR in. Let's rewind this sucker just a
Yeah.
little bit here.
Yeah.
So, how did she get the phone in the first place?
She bought it.
Okay, she bought it with her own money.
Yes.
Okay, how'd she get the? Then it's a track phone, right?
Yes.
Flip phone.
Flip phone, one of them cheap. Okay, and then she had a computer. How did she get that?
Pastor gave it to her for graduation because she made it through.
Wait, Pastor gave her the laptop?
After he probably
Yes.
installed the track, where
But she had gotten to a
You know what's
point
funny?
where he trusted her with it, basically. Right.
I helped her set it up.
So
She
the
asked me to
so
help
the
her
deal
set it up.
about the laptop was, she had had previous issues that we're not going to discuss that caused her to have to be dealt with outside our means. You as a mom couldn't handle it, and I couldn't handle it. So she went to a girls' home for a year. When she came back, I told her, I said, you finish out school, keep your nose clean, and I will buy you a brand new Apple
MacBook Air.
MacBook Air, brand new.
M1.
With the M1. Yeah, I didn't say all that, but that's what it was.
I was jealous.
Yeah. But I said, I'll buy you a brand new one. Well, she did it. She graduated, kept her nose clean up to that point. I thought, I'm a man of my word. So, ordered it, bought it, paid for it, came in, gave it to her, said, I love you when I hit it. She goes, I love you too, Pastor. And that was it. So, again.
Such a bad man.
So that was brand new, right?
Yes.
Would you say, everybody knows the answer to this, that was expensive?
Yes.
Does anyone care to?
I don't know how much those are.
Would you know, Pastor? How much do
When I
you think
got
that was
hers
worth?
around $1,300.
Here's another.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Trying to keep her down. Any?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, we can move on. Peter can pick next. Now we're getting to the actual, let's get to the actual meat of the topic, where in that video, he probably dances around happily in what he says is the facts. And something that when he says it, it's eye-catching, you know. It's like, oh, wow, this must be true. And that is, what did he say? The pastor received a fine.
He was fined. Right.
He was fined for taking your laptop or whatever.
Someone
right?
who knows being involved with the abuse reporting should know the legalities involved with a fine being handed to a person. They should know what it takes for a fine. A police officer doesn't walk in and hand you a fine.
No.
All tickets, even on road driving tickets, you get a ticket, you got to go to court. The court has to decide if you're guilty or not, and then they either issue a fine, jail time, or
you admit that you're guilty and you just pay.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. But he being somebody who's so hot to trot after all these IFB preachers and judging whether or not they're serious about abuse in their own churches, he should know. I think
did he
Eric
say?
should know what the legal ramifications are for lying.
We need to get the
about
answer
someone,
to this. Yeah.
Right?
We haven't
And he
even
put
asked
on
the
there-
question. We haven't asked the question.
Oh, I'm
yet.
sorry.
Right. And he put
Did
on
get
there,
it
I
wrong?
believe, as far as I know, as far as I can tell in reporting this, that he was fined. Is that what he said?
No.
Yes. He received a fine. He said-
No. But he
I'm
didn't
saying,
clarify.
Did he clarify
didn't say,
saying,
as far as I know.
I don't know if this is facts,
No, he
but
said
I was
he
told.
was fined.
Yeah,
He said he
I
was fined. So he's
fined.
reporting this as facts.
It was, yeah.
So here's all the hearsay put aside as far as she said, he said, whatever.
He's a liar.
If you want to take all of that we're saying and say, oh, we're just let's say what we say, and we're all, this is a big conspiracy that you put together. If you want to still believe that, let's get to the actual juicy facts of the matter. He said in that video that you were fined.
Yeah. It's exactly.
Public record.
I want to get it.
Because I'm curious. Maybe let's give him the benefit of the doubt.
No. We're going to find out what happened. What was said here.
Maybe he said.
Okay, here we
He
go.
said lie.
It's possible that he
No,
was fined.
He said a lie. Every time he opens his mouth, he lies.
Well, I know, but I'm trying to be giving.
lips are
I'm
moving,
trying
he's
to
lying.
be.
Pastor Reed, they put the police ended.
Oh, here we go.
The police ended up fining Pastor Reeves for taking her cell phone and her laptop. But
Please don't fine anybody.
And some of the other things.
Courts.
Oh, here we go. Okay. That's what he said.
And some of the other things.
So he said the police ended up. That's a
Police
matter of
ended
fact.
up finding. Yep, finding.
Finding-
Was Pastor
fined?
Was
were you fined?
Was he fined? Hey, David.
don't know.
You and I were there. Was he fined?
Nope.
No. Were you fined?
fined?
Still got the money in my pocket.
Still got the money. Okay, but what about this? Were you arrested?
No.
Because I think in that kind of a situation,
Didn't even go to trial.
Well, yeah.
When she submitted her written testimony, and it was circulated back up to the county attorney. So what happens is you get a ticket. I mean, this guy should know this. When a ticket is issued, the ticket then comes before the county attorney. The county attorney must do research and find out, is there merit? Is there enough proof to bring a official charge. They do that in 60 days. After 60 days of getting a ticket, that county attorney will say, yep, there's sufficient cause, charge them. So they'll arrest you at that time. You either surrender yourself or the police will come get you, but you get arrested and a charge is levied and a court date is set up.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't happen.
Never happened.
Didn't happen because when the county attorney got the testimony from the mother, my attorney went and talked to them, gave them all the information. We have texts that prove. I even asked you in a text, did she surrender that? I mean, it was all right there. There was absolutely no way. So this girl lied to the police officer, who unfortunately was a victim of her lies because he went off half-cocked. His kids were in our daycare. They pulled their kids out of our daycare because of what she said and what they perceived to be facts, but he doesn't know the law. He didn't talk to me. He wasn't willing. He's the one that said I was coercing you. And I was just like, okay, I'm done with this, because if you think I'm coercing my church member who I counsel, and counsel and coercing is the same thing, you have already been poisoned by whatever social media venues you have been on. So I didn't even argue with him, whatever. But the idea that I was fine means it had to go through that course. And the county attorney said, "This I can't prosecute. There's nothing there." And so guess what? Oh, bye-bye.
Yeah.
If a fine or anything had happened, if anything like that, arrested, whatever, wouldn't there be some form of public record?
Yes. Yeah, it's recorded. All of that's recorded.
Is there a record?
Not that I know of. I haven't looked for it, but I would venture to say if Eric wanted to, he could. It's public records, so he could probably pay to have somebody go down to the courthouse and see if there is public record of an arrest warrant issued for Pastor Bill Reeves. And he's not going to find one because there wasn't one. He's just a liar who's taking someone's false reports, just like I said in the monologue. He doesn't even believe them. He doesn't have to believe them. He just wants to stir up because he is a rebellious punk who went away from the Lord and wants to blame everybody else for his lack of being able to just do what he wants to do. And guess what? In our churches, things just don't operate that way. You can't just do what you want to do. If we could, then people would be getting away with murder.
So, Mrs. Greeley, and kind of toward the end of, I guess, our time here, but does Pastor coerce or control, as he said in the video, you and in your situation with your daughter? Did he really?
No. There's many things that he told me to do that I haven't done.
What? We're voting you out tomorrow, lady.
Yeah, we're firing all your volunteer work.
Yeah, you're not getting paid anymore for your volunteer work.
You don't do what I say. Oh.
So here's the point: is
There's a lot of times people don't do what I say, and I got to sit back and go. And they come back and they go, I wish I would have done that.
Yeah.
Just love them anyway.
If you just watch, if you get all these facts, disregard everything that we said, and just go check the actual records. It will then prove that this man who is a storyteller, fabricator, charlatan, whatever you want to call him, who makes it his job, his business, to report on stories where in some cases,
because he's doing a disservice to the word report.
It's very sad, because in some cases these stories are true.
Yeah.
And people are getting their information from this clown. I feel bad for the victims who have to get their news, their stuff paraded out there by someone who obviously cannot be trusted.
Doesn't have the character to figure it out.
He doesn't have her best interest at heart for
any time
the victim.
So here's the thing to understand is these guys they really get torqued about the independent and independent fundamental Baptist. They hate that. They hate that there's no hierarchy, there's no Catholic overreach, and they think there's no way that group of people can actually be right, because there's no board running them. It's a pastor. Well, that's what the Bible doesn't have boards. You don't even have to have deacons. You only have deacons if you have issues with caring for your widows and your orphans.
Yeah.
So, there's nowhere in there said thou shalt have a council of deacons. It's not in there. So when they act like you're wrong because you don't have that system,
Well,
let me finish the direction I'm trying to go. They cross over the line. Here's the thing. I hate mentioning these things, but he goes after Jack Trieber. I don't agree with Jack Trieber on everything. But the issues that he's gone after him, there's no way I could ever know the inside of what Brother Trieber, what caused him to make decisions or come out and be vocal or not be vocal. I know this. How long has it been? Since Christmas, before Christmas, this happened, and we just now are sharing this limited amount of facts. There's more. There's a whole lot more. But we're just now sharing it. But my church, inside my walls, do y'all remember I immediately handled this with my church people?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So, and that's how you handled it. Was it a cover-up? No. It was already out. Here's the thing. In any church, of any kind of church government, we have state government, local, state, and federal government, that when you break a law, a statute, they have the right to come in and to govern and do those kind of things. So we do have a mechanism. There is authority over us and me in an independent fundamental Baptist realm. But they just don't like the fact that we could actually have something difficult go on in our church and it not close our doors. It's not going to close our church. The Bible says the gates of hell will not prevail against it. That's the only promise, an umbrella promise of protection has been to the church. So as long as I'm living and operating by scriptural premise and principles, I won't be perfect, but I will be able to stay underneath that protection that the Lord offers to the church. That drives them crazy that they can't reach in and at their leisure and twist and pull and take apart. Every attack that we've gone through since social media has become a big issue in our church, every single person has left and spewed their garbage. Their lives have been destroyed, like I prophesied in the pulpit before they left. Don't do this, you'll lose your marriage. Don't do this, you'll lose your kids. Don't lose this, do this, you'll lose your joy. Don't do this, you'll financially suffer a loss. Don't do this. I mean, every single person, there is no exception. No exception. Every person that's left bitter because they felt I was controlling. They didn't get their way. They didn't get away with their sin. They got their sin preached about it, because that's what you're supposed to do. By the way, pastors, preach at your people's sin in the room, and it will cause you all kinds of problems, because those people will either get right or they'll get gone. And when they're gone, they're bitter. They become bitter. Those that are mature understand, you know what? I'm not going to do this to a group of people that led me to Christ. Do you know how many people that did this kind of stuff we led to Christ? Mm-hmm. Our soul winning, our door knocking, are willing to step out of our own restaurant seat, go over and sit next to them and talk to them, invite them to church, is the reason they got saved. And they grew and they loved it and everything was great until they decided, I'm going to be worldly and carnal in this area, and I'm not going to separate. But the preacher stood up and preached against their sin, and they didn't like it. So now I'm going to get him back.
Right.
I'm going to get him back.
And that is a direct example of the principle that we see in Proverbs 39, where it says, he that being oft reproved hardeneth his neck shall suddenly be destroyed. And that without remedy. And that's what we've seen. I mean, I know you said, I've told him, I prophesied it. I told him this stuff was in the Bible, the very Bible they were reading. It was right there. Exactly. And that's the downfall, I think, in a lot of churches today, and a lot of church members, a lot of people who if you were controlling, you would probably have like, you know, a public record checklist to see who read and didn't read their Bible today. But you're not doing that. People can make their own choices, and often, more often than not, people don't make the right choice.
I will tell you that almost in every situation, I can view these haters of IFBism. In every case, none of them are King James. In other words, they started off in the Independent Fundamental Baptists, and that's a staple. We believe that the Word of God is preserved and inspired for the English-speaking people in the King James Bible. We're not being idolaters, worshiping a book over the Word of God. We're saying that God has the power to preserve, and we're worshiping a God who has the strength to keep His Word preserved, perfect, word for word, every word Bible for us to use, for the purpose of guiding us and directing us. So what happens when you get away from that word? What if your undercore belief of the Bible has been challenged and the pegs knocked out from underneath it, and now you believe the Bible exists in multiple versions other places? You can begin to be less and less accountable, because now it says this over here, but it doesn't say this over here. Or you can say it this way, or you can say it this way. Whereas you have one Bible, one preserved Word of God. We're covering fundamentalists, CCMers, Southern gospel music people. None of them stand strong in the kingdom. None of them stand strong. Zero stand strong. And in every independent fundamental Baptist Bible college, the ones you went to, the ones I went to, the ones you went to, every single one of them is moving, because in those dorms and in those classrooms, it's getting harder and harder to find teachers and preachers that'll stand up and say, "Thus saith the Lord, this is the Word of God, it is preserved, let's stay on the straight and narrow. Wide is the way leadeth unto destruction, narrow is the way that leadeth unto..." You know, we get so pressured, and so these guys don't stand. And so we have a dormitory filled with people and all this undercurrent. So their music goes south, their dress goes south, their church belief goes south. It's not long before they're leaving the church and hating everything about the church.
And then God.
Yeah,
himself.
but you're exactly. You're leaving the faith completely. So, you know, I'm very, very much, you know, I don't want to be fake and phony. I'm concerned for people like Eric, because they will suffer judgment. But I'm not going to lie about it. There's part of me that says he's been given over a reprobate mind. And if he is not moved to, I believe he has moved. Maybe he's not moved. He's always been there. But I believe he's very, very compassionate and accepting to the LGBT crowd and homosexuality. And I think if he doesn't end up there himself, someone in his family will be. And it's just, that's the direction it's going to go. And that's where it goes. It just keeps worse and worse and worse. And he'll get more mad. He'll see this and he'll be more mad. But here's the thing. Here's mom. Here's mom. Here's the girl's mother, who sat here and said, "Everything, Eric, you said, put the camera on me. Put the camera on me. Just give me. Everything you said, Eric, was a lie. You attacked not just me, not just my church, not just my staff, not just my family, but the very God of heaven. And you will pay. Trust me, you will pay." And I'll be honest with you, you're one of the last people that I feel a lot of compassion for. So, and you know, you can put that out all you want to, but when I said last week, "I'm coming after you trollers," you're number one, bro.
And if you look at these, the way to help people in any way, shape, or form, if you want to help somebody, you cannot do it on YouTube. You cannot do it online. You got to get your hands dirty. And if your hands are dirty and you're working with people, you don't have time to make these entire shows based on uncovering all of these facts that you know nothing about.
Yeah, in places
and
where
the truth,
you don't know.
And the reason you know that these type of people, this guy is exactly the same way. He doesn't even know what it means to help somebody.
Right.
The reason you know that is because he doesn't understand the intricacy of working with broken people.
Right.
He's not happy with facts that are not given, and then he calls them cover-ups. He has no idea what it's like to be working with a family who has other family members who don't want that information out there.
Exactly.
He doesn't know what it's like to help people. And you know that because he's not happy with the amount of information that's given.
And he's mixing times, situations that do call for immediate action by things like police officers, and times where you've been like, no, you're gonna go. We're taking you down to the police station, and that's it. This is something that should be handled by law.
Exactly.
He's taking those and he's lumping everything else in with it instead of realizing that pastoring is a delicate thing.
Right.
Ministering to people is delicate.
And you can't help those type of situations, the actual abusive situations, from YouTube, from being a third bystander far, far away. Those type of things are for whistleblowers that are in the church themselves, that know what it's like to help people. Stand up and say something if you're in the church and you see something. But these clowns that are running around on the internet that are thousands of miles from the actual stuff that's happening, they have no say-so. They have no facts. They have nothing. Right. Another thing is, the final block that I feel like that he's got left to, it's not even true for his foundation of whatever platform he's built, but I would expect a forthright apology on his own.
You expect it?
I don't, but I'm
if
saying
he would consider
if he was
himself
credible,
a trustworthy source,
then he would come out.
There would be a video.
He would
take that
apologize
down
to you, Miss Greeley. He would apologize to Desi, the victim. He would apologize to pastor. He would apologize to North Platte Baptist Church, to Great Plains Baptist College, and to every family member.
He doesn't have the love of God in him.
But you have to, as somebody that would call themselves
a whistleblower, a reporter.
You have to say when you got it wrong. And we will wait with bated breath, and we'll get blue.
I want to ask one other question, Dad, real quick before we go, because we talked a little bit about restoration, working with broken people. If Desi was ever to come back with a contrite spirit, or someone if she used to attend church and be like, you know what, I messed up. Let me get. Would you run her off? Would you say you can't come back? Would you counsel Miss Greeley to never talk to her again?
No.
Would you?
I haven't counseled her to do that, have I?
No.
I want to make this clear because I feel like some people think that restoration is that it wouldn't be possible. That you would just be like, that's not true.
Okay, so let me just make this clear. We have had bus kids that were signed up by the people that are still here in this church, but yet we allowed another person to minister to them. Of course, then they act like they got them, but they didn't. Mm-hmm. But we allowed them to minister to them, and they poisoned them. Now they're teenage girls that don't even come to church anymore, and they poison them. They're states away from here. They don't even live here anymore, and the girls are living in this town, and they have been poisoned. Now, when that young lady left our church after 6 years, I didn't have any problem standing up and saying, this is not somebody you should be talking to on Twitter or social media or on the phone. Right. You have her number, and they got so mad at me because I would say that. I didn't say, you're not allowed to. I would just say, you shouldn't. Right. If you're wise, you wouldn't do that. And I would lay out Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse after Bible verse that tells us this is not the kind of people you want around and make friends out of. And where did it end up? That girl will be held accountable for destroying those bus kids' lives. She will be held accountable. And I guess my only thing to end on was I wanted Mrs. Greeley, did you have anything you wanted to tell Eric? Since his lies were not just lies about me, but they actually sidestepped you as a parent completely. I mean, you don't have to say anything to him. You're not a woman of many words, but I didn't know if you had any desire to clear your conscience on. No cuss words allowed.
Yeah.
I have nothing to say.
Okay.
I think you said something. Somebody said, are they really concerned about Desiree? No. She is in a lot of trouble. She's headed. I'm really concerned with what she said. He's really concerned about what's happened to her? Because she's definitely not better off now that she's not here.
Right.
Is he willing to answer for that? He helped her get off track. I mean, way off track.
Right.
I'm not sure there's any coming back. Thank you very much.
Right. He's over there, that one right there.
Thank you, Eric, very much for ruining my daughter's life.
You think he did more harm than I did being too hard on her?
No. He
You think I did worse?
No, I think he did.
He did worse.
Yes. He allowed her to,
Have an out.
yes, have an out to
Encouraged
get,
He created it.
to fall into the pit.
And there's a lot, there's a lot more young people out there that will be hurt because there is a pit created by these recovering peeps who just make a way for these young people to be free, and they just fall. And they don't follow. These people that get out, and these young people that get out of Christianity, out of church, they don't follow the recovering undies. They don't follow the IFB abuse. They don't follow. They just live their life in disarray, in sin, and in brokenness.
Well, when sin has worked, it brings forth death.
Yeah.
So you guys are doing a great. You recovering fundamentalists, nut jobs are doing a great job.
Go help an actual
Great
person.
success rate there.
And you
How
all
many
talk
people-
like you got it going on, but can't even fill your own church building with people to preach to on a Sunday morning. So you just need to knock it off. And here, I'll end the show with this. I stick to my guns. As I said last week, I have no respect for pastors who think discourse, discussion, arguments with these people bring any benefit. If you're doing it, it's for clickbait. It's for clickbait. It's just simply to get people to come to your thing and click on it. There's no benefit. That's why I block them. That's why I don't engage them. This is our platform. We handled this problem the way the local New Testament church pastor, the candlestick, chose to do it. We're not letting the outside folks decide how things are going to be done. And it comes to criminal things, the state and the local law enforcement have a right to enforce things. But other than that, stay out of our business. And some of you preachers need to just go ahead and cut these stupid guys loose from having any kind of normal discourse. Even if you're not a soul winner like we are, even if you don't run buses, even if you don't like Dr. Jack Hyles, it doesn't matter. You call yourself an independent fundamental Baptist, it's only a matter of time before they get bored with someone like me and go to you, because you're just as much a knucklehead as I am in their book. So, you guys, you're playing with the devil. And I ain't got no business playing with the devil. If I'm going to be around the devil, it's going to hit him in the head with a 2x4. I ain't got no time for that kind of garbage. So I don't have a lot of respect for you men who keep justifying hanging out with the demons of hell. I just don't have time for that. They're trolls. Trolls. Yeah. So that's the end of our show. We're glad that you came and spent the time with us today. It's good to have Mrs. Greeley on the show. I'm glad she and I were able to expose Eric as the liar that he is, and Preacher Boy Podcast is a joke. And I'm glad we got to do that. And we'll be looking for next week's attempt to do that with someone else. And she won't be here, but I have plans. So this has been the Brook Overtime Troll Edition. Glad you tuned in. We'll see you next week.
The Brook, a ministry of North Platte Baptist Church.